I'm Hala Garani, sitting in for Christiane. Bill Gates begins 2014 with two almost contradictory accomplishments. He is both the richest and the most admired person in the world, the two at the same time. Now, it's an impressive twofer, of course, and certainly much of the credit must go to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, his $40 billion philanthropic organization. Today, as the foundation releases its annual letter on the state of foreign aid, it can tout a truly milestone accomplishment. It was a key player in the eradication of polio from India, once ground zero for the disease. Just 3 decades ago, polio claimed 150,000 victims a year in India. In 2013, and for 3 years running, not one child contracted the disease. Now Gates is gunning to eradicate polio from the world altogether. And while there has been extraordinary progress, that's undeniable, there have also been extraordinary obstacles. Just today, 3 polio workers were killed by extremists in Karachi, Pakistan, one of the few countries where polio is still endemic. Christiane talked to Gates yesterday, just before she left on assignment to Moscow, and he left for the World Economic Summit in Davos, Switzerland.
Bill Gates, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
You have come out and put your money where your mouth is again. You've written an amazing letter talking about the good news. And let's start with the good news. You say, by almost any measure, the world is better than it has ever been. Wow, we wouldn't think that just to look at what's going on in the world. Tell me in a few sentences why you say that.
Well, I agree that if you just look at news headlines, it's easy to know about the bad things going on because the good things are kind of quiet. For example, poor countries getting richer. When I was born, most of the world was poor, and the rich countries were the exception. Now, most people live in countries that are middle income, and in the next 20 years, if we're generous, if we do the right things, there will be very, very few poor countries left. And yet that's happened sort of day by day, and so it's never really a headline thing. So we have to remind people we are making fantastic progress.
I'm telling you, people are going to find that hard to believe. But you're Bill Gates. You have the algorithms. So if one is to build on success and celebrate success, you have devoted your letter this year to busting what you call 3 major myths about poverty. That those who are poor will never be able to get out of where they are. Give me your first myth and what needs to be busted.
First is that poor countries stay poor. That's not right. That progress there is unbelievably good. Second is that aid is wasted, and there I talk about why I've chosen to spend money on these health programs that really do lift countries up. And finally, my wife Melinda writes about the fact that if you improve health, you don't get population explosion. In fact, by improving health, empowering women, population growth comes down, and so solving problems actually gets a lot easier.
Very interesting, because I've covered, obviously, a lot of the aid part of this picture. And so many people say exactly what you do, that either we're giving too much foreign aid or it's a complete waste of money. It's just, you know, good money after bad. But you have said that it's actually, I think you said, that it is actually a bargain considering what you get from it.
Yeah, in terms of all the money that the U.S. government or other governments spend, well-spent aid money is saving lives for a few $1,000s per life saved. And it's actually, as a percentage of the budget, much smaller than people think. In the case of the U.S., less than 1%. Even the most generous country in the world, Norway, it's less than 3%. So it's modest, but now that we're smarter about it, we're measuring it, it really improves human welfare more than most government programs.
On that note about health, your foundation obviously deals a lot with trying to eradicate some of the biggest and worst diseases, and polio is one of them, and there's just been this massive success in India. Melinda writes that actually eradicating polio in India was one of the most difficult things that could have been imagined. Tell me about that and how it happened.
Well, India has over 20% of the kids born in the world, over 20 million, and they move around a lot. And so it was going to be the hardest country. For a long time, it was where the most cases were. But in fact, it's now 3 years since they've had a case. That required unbelievable dedication by teams to go out to every house, convince parents that the vaccine was okay, find people, even people moving around, and so it's a triumph. We now have 3 countries that we've never gotten rid of polio. We do have a couple of outbreaks. So in 2013, it returned to Syria, who hadn't seen a case since 1999. So we've got to mop up those countries and then finish the tough ones, which are Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nigeria. But a real milestone that India shows it really can be done.
And possibly no accident that Syria and Afghanistan are both nations of war. Well, what will you do then about Pakistan? Because it is absolutely unbelievable to see these dedicated young field workers who are going out to try to immunize kids and are getting killed for their trouble. What can you do about that?
Well, the truth is on our side. Vaccine drops are there to help kids not be paralyzed. And so we have to find people who are trusted in those areas, religious leaders, other people, and get the word out. It is tragic that it's been viewed as a plot, been viewed as some negative thing. We face those kind of bad rumors in many countries. It's particularly tough in Pakistan and Nigeria. But we do have the religious leaders, the political leaders coming together saying this has got to get solved. Pakistan does not want to be the last.
Can I move on? Because, you know, it's kind of connected. Part of the empowerment of the world is also in the digital world. And the more people who have access to, you know, the jobs and in innovation and tech, the better. What do you think about what President Obama has just announced in terms of curbs on national surveillance? And it does, in fact, affect your company and all the other big tech companies as well.
Well, it's an important issue. You know, at the end of the day, you've got 2 goals: protect privacy and to stop war. And in particular, the biggest threat going forward is terrorism. You know, if somebody can get a lot of knowledge about nuclear weapons, biological weapons, and so the ability to see that early, track that down, literally could save billions of lives. So striking the right balance. You know, there's a healthy debate taking place. How do you achieve both goals?
Bill Gates, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you.